I want to start with a question that I think will land differently depending on where you are in your financial life right now. How many contracts have you signed in your life that you later wished you had not signed? How many agreements, business partnerships, leases, loans, employment contracts, vendor deals, service agreements have you committed to, with a signature that turned out to cost you far more than you understood when you signed? And when you trace those decisions back to the moment of signing, when you replay the scene in your mind, what was the quality of your discernment in that moment? Were you rushing? Were you under pressure? Were you excited in a way that closed down the part of you that asks the harder questions? Were you afraid of losing the opportunity if you waited another day? Most people, when they examine the financial decisions that have cost them the most, find that the moment of signing was a moment of reduced clarity, a moment when the pressure of the situation, the excitement of the opportunity, or the fear of missing out compressed the discernment window to almost nothing, and the signature happened before the wisdom fully arrived. Today, I want to give you 3 biblical words, 3 specific declarations rooted in the deepest covenant theology of the Old and New Testaments, that have the power to restore that discernment window before you close it with your signature. 3 words that, spoken with understanding and intention before any significant financial commitment, will do something that no lawyer and no financial advisor can do for you. They will align the decision with the only counsel that has never been wrong. Welcome. I am the Millionaire Priest, and today we are talking about something that almost nobody in the church addresses directly: the spiritual dimension of contracts and financial commitments, and the specific biblical words that protect what a signature can cost. Let me begin with something foundational. In the biblical world, a covenant, a binding agreement between 2 parties, was never a purely legal transaction. It was always also a spiritual one. When Abraham made a covenant with Abimelech in Genesis 21, they called on God as witness. When Joshua made a covenant with the Gibeonites in Joshua 9, a covenant he was tricked into, but that he honored anyway because it had been made before God, the binding nature of the agreement was inseparable from its spiritual dimension. When Ruth said to Naomi in Ruth 1:16, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay," she was making a covenant declaration that the text treats as having the weight of a divine oath. In the biblical understanding, words spoken in the context of a binding agreement are not merely legal formalities. They are spiritual commitments that carry weight in a dimension that the contract itself cannot reach. The modern reduction of agreements to purely legal instruments, documents that bind only in the courts and carry no spiritual reality beyond the clauses, is a departure from the biblical understanding of what it means to bind yourself to another party. And that departure has costs, because the spiritual dimension of a contract does not disappear simply because it is not acknowledged. It operates whether or not you are aware of it. And the person who enters significant financial commitments without engaging that dimension is leaving the most powerful form of due diligence entirely off the table. So what are the 3 words? I want to give them to you with their full biblical weight, one at a time, with the stories behind them, because the power of a declaration is inseparable from the understanding of what is being declared. The first word is Selah. It appears 74 times in the Psalms and 3 times in Habakkuk. It is one of the most frequently occurring words in the entire Hebrew Bible, and it is also one of the least understood, because it is almost never translated. Most English Bibles simply carry it over as Selah, leaving it untranslated in the text. Scholars have debated its precise meaning for centuries, but the most widely supported interpretation, and the one that I believe carries the deepest practical application, is that Selah is a musical and contemplative instruction meaning pause and consider. Stop. Let what has just been said land before you move forward. In the Psalms, Selah appears at the moments of highest theological weight, after a declaration about God's power, after a statement of trust in the face of danger, after a cry for help in a moment of crisis. It is placed precisely where the writer wants the reader to stop moving and start absorbing, to let the weight of what has just been said actually settle into the bones before the next thing is said. In the context of a contract, in the context of any significant financial commitment, selah is the word that creates the pause your discernment requires. It is the deliberate spoken act of stopping the momentum of the moment and creating space for the wisdom that momentum was about to override. Before you sign anything significant, speak this word, out loud or in the privacy of your own heart. Selah. Pause and consider. Let what you are about to commit to actually land in its full weight before the pen touches the paper. This single practice, the deliberate pause before commitment, is one of the most financially protective habits you can build, and its biblical root is this ancient Hebrew instruction that appears 74 times in the book of prayer, precisely because the writers understood that the most important moments require a pause before they are acted upon. The second word is Urim. In Exodus 28, God instructed Moses to place inside the breastplate of the high priest two objects, the Urim and the Thummim, that were used to discern God's will in situations where clarity was essential and the stakes were high. The exact nature of the Urim and Thummim is debated by scholars, but their function is clear throughout the Old Testament. They were the mechanism by which the high priest sought divine guidance for decisions that affected the entire community. Numbers 27:21 says that Joshua is to stand before Eleazar the priest, who will obtain decisions for him by inquiring of the Urim before the Lord. 1 Samuel 28:6 records that when Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him by dreams or by prophets or by Urim. The Urim was the instrument of divine consultation, the means by which God's people asked for clarity from heaven before committing to a course of action on earth. Ezra 2:63 records that the returning exiles were told that certain people could not be confirmed as priests until there was a priest ministering with the Urim and Thummim, until divine confirmation was available for significant decisions. The theological reality that the Urim points to, even apart from the physical object itself, is that there is wisdom available to you before a significant decision that is not available through human analysis alone. That divine light exists, that consulting it is not optional for the person who wants to make covenant decisions well. When you speak the word Urim before a contract, when you deliberately invoke the concept of divine illumination over the decision you are facing, you are positioning yourself as someone who is not relying solely on human due diligence. You are asking for the light that sees what the clauses do not reveal. The character of the person you are entering into agreement with, the trajectory of the business you are joining, the hidden costs that no lawyer's review will uncover, the spiritual dimension of what this commitment will mean for your life 12 months from now. Urim. Let the divine light illuminate what human wisdom cannot reach. The third word is shalom. I have mentioned this word before in other teachings, but in the context of a contract, it carries a specific application that deserves its own full treatment. Shalom, wholeness, completeness, nothing missing and nothing broken, is the standard against which every significant financial commitment should be measured. Not the standard of profitability alone, not the standard of legal soundness alone, not the standard of the opportunity it represents alone, the standard of shalom. Does this agreement, if I enter it fully, if I honor every clause of it, if I live inside it for its entire term, does it move me toward wholeness or away from it? Does it align with the person I am called to be, the purpose I am called to pursue, the financial life that the Machashavot of God has planned for me? Or does it compromise something, my integrity, my calling, my relationships, my peace, in a way that no amount of financial return can compensate for? Shalom is the question that the legal review cannot ask. It is the question that the excitement of the opportunity tends to suppress. And it is the most important question you can bring to any contract, because the contracts that have cost people the most have almost never been the ones that failed legally. They have been the ones that were legally sound, but shalom destroying. The business partnership that was profitable, but required you to compromise your values every quarter. The lease that was financially manageable, but locked you into a location that was killing your purpose. The employment contract that paid well, but demanded everything you had, and left nothing for the life you were actually called to build. Shalom is the word that asks, is this whole? Does this make me more complete or less? Does this serve the full picture of what God designed for my life? Not just the financial portion of it? Speak it before you sign. Ask it honestly. And if the answer is uncertain, Selah, pause. Seek the Urim. Ask for divine light. And wait until the Shalom question has been answered clearly enough that you can sign with peace rather than with suppressed doubt. Now I want to give you the complete practice, the specific sequence in which these three words are spoken, and what each one produces in the moment before a contract is signed. The practice begins the day before the signing, not in the moment of it, because the moment of signing is almost always the moment of highest pressure and lowest discernment. The preparation happens the night before, or the morning of, in the quiet before the meeting. You sit down with whatever you know about the agreement, the terms, the parties, the obligations, the opportunities, and you speak the first word, Selah. You pause. You let the full weight of what you are about to commit to actually land. Not the exciting parts, all of it. The obligations, the risks, the parts of the agreement that were explained quickly and that you nodded past, the clauses you have not fully read. Selah forces the honest accounting that the momentum of the signing moment tends to prevent. It is the pause that creates space for what the excitement was covering. Then you speak the second word, Urim. You bring the decision before God, and you ask for the divine illumination that is available to you, but that does not arrive without the asking. You pray specifically, not generally. God, illuminate what I cannot see about this agreement. Show me the character of the person I am entering into covenant with. Show me whether this aligns with what you have planned for my financial life. Show me anything that human analysis has missed. And then you wait, not for an audible voice necessarily, but for the settled sense, the specific impression, the persistent unease that has no rational explanation, or the deep and specific peace that passes understanding. These are the modern equivalents of the Urim. They require the asking, the waiting, and the willingness to hear an answer you might not have preferred. Then you speak the third word, Shalom, and you ask the Shalom question directly and honestly. Does this make me whole? Does this serve the full picture of what God has planned for my life? Does this align with my deepest values, my clearest calling, my most important relationships? Can I enter this agreement and be more complete on the other side of it, not less? If the answer is yes, if the Shalom question is answered with a genuine and settled peace, then sign with confidence, not with naive optimism, but with the grounded confidence of someone who has done the due diligence that no lawyer provides. If the answer is no, or if the answer is unclear, if something refuses to settle, if the peace will not come, then do not sign. Not yet. Regardless of the pressure, regardless of the deadline, regardless of the fear of losing the opportunity, because the opportunity that requires you to override your Shalom question is not the opportunity that was designed for you. The Machashavot, the plans of God, have a specific path for your financial life, and a contract signed against the Shalom question is a contract that takes you off that path, however profitable it may appear at the moment of signing. I want to close with something pastoral because I think it needs to be said. I have sat with people who signed contracts they should not have signed, not because they were foolish, not because they were spiritually immature, because the pressure of the moment and the excitement of the opportunity compressed the discernment window to nothing, and the signature happened before the wisdom arrived. And I have watched those decisions cost them, in money, in time, in relationships, in the sense of direction that a wrong financial commitment can steal from a person for years. And in almost every case, somewhere in the story, there was a moment, a Selah moment, a pause that was available but not taken, when the decision could have gone differently. You have that moment available to you before every significant financial commitment. 3 words, 30 seconds of intentional preparation. Selah, Urim, Shalom. Pause. Seek the light. Ask the wholeness question, and then sign, or do not sign, from a place of genuine discernment rather than managed pressure. The difference in the outcomes of your financial life, practiced consistently over years, will be extraordinary. Leave a comment below. Tell me about a contract you signed that you wished you had paused longer before. Tell me whether you are going to use this practice before your next significant financial commitment. This community is built on honest conversations about money and faith, and I read every comment. If you are new here, welcome to the Millionaire Priest. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every week, we go this deep at the place where faith and finances meet, and there is much more coming. Before your next contract, Selah. Pause and consider the full weight of what you are entering. Urim. Ask for the divine light that reaches what human analysis cannot. Shalom. Ask whether this makes you whole. And may every agreement you enter from this day forward be one you sign with full discernment, full peace, and the quiet confidence of someone who asked every question, including the ones that only God can answer. Amen.